All right, well, welcome everyone to the April 9th meeting of the Roseville Joint Union High School District Board. We'll call to order, roll call, we are all here. Do we have a motion to adopt the board agenda?
I'll make a motion.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Would any member of the public like to address us on an item in closed session? Rob doesn't look like he wants to say anything, so we will adjourn to closed session. Thank you. ready? You need a minute to get set up? I don't have to start right now. Okay. All right. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the April 9th meeting of the Roseville Joint Union High School District Board. The board, let's see. I don't want to do that yet. Let's all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I'm going to get I'm all out of sync today. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our next item is report on action from closed session. The board met in closed session just prior to this meeting. On item 2.4, the board took action to adopt resolution number 2407, releasing temporary certificated employees. Upon a motion by Tiffany and a second by Marla, the vote was unanimous by the board. Our next item is meeting protocols. This evening, you'll have a few different opportunities to speak to the board. If you want to speak on an item that's not on the agenda, just like these three here, fill out one of these cards, and we will call you. You'll have an opportunity to address the board. If we have less than 10 people, you'll be afforded 3 minutes to address the board. If we have 10 or more people, you'll be given 90 seconds to address the board. On each agenda item, you'll also have an opportunity to address the board. If you'd like to on any of the individual agenda items, we do ask that you fill out a speaker card so that we make sure we don't miss you. We do encourage everyone to participate during our meeting, but we do request civility and the use of courteous language. The board does not condone the use of profanity, vulgar language, gestures, or any other inappropriate behavior, including personal attacks or threats directed towards any meeting participant and/or district employee. If you have a complaint about a specific employee or employees of the district, those complaints should be made to that employee's immediate supervisor or the school site principal as outlined in our board policies and administrative regulations. As always, our meetings are audio, video recorded, live streamed, and archived. So we are now going to move into our recognition section. We have 2 items of recognition. We're going to start with item 4.1, which is recognition of the 2024 Classified Employees of the Year. Rob.
Give me a minute and a half, huh? I'm gonna have to go fast. All right. Okay. Unsung heroes. Those are the members of the RJUHS team we're recognizing this evening. An unsung hero is a person who is selfless and committed to making a positive impact without seeking personal gain or glory. They say a true hero isn't measured by the size of their strength, but by the size of their heart. Tonight, as we recognize our classified employees of the year, we're honoring the work of 6 unsung heroes that work tirelessly behind the scenes, supporting the needs of our special education students, preparing meals, hiring our great next employees, making sure our technology supports the academic needs of our students, driving our students to and from school, and making sure our classrooms are clean and in good repair for our students. The work these folks do before school, after hours, and behind the scenes are instrumental in creating a safe, clean, and supportive learning environment for our students. They're vital to the delivery of a world-class education. From Cabinet, the board, and the Roseville Joint Union High School District staff, we extend a huge thank you to each of our classified employees of the year for all of their work and sacrifice in the name of supporting the students in the district as well as the Roseville community. Tonight we start by recognizing our first classified employee of the year. Sorry about that, Amelia Avina, and to recognize her is Mr. Craig Garabedian.
Come on, come. Good evening. Hello. Nice to see you. This is Amelia Avina. In the restaurant industry, chefs say that the key to a great meal is starting with great ingredients. Likewise, in the school setting, the key to becoming a great paraeducator is starting with great personal qualities. When Amelia came to challenge from the private sector, it was clear that she had an array of great qualities that include a strong intellect, great interpersonal skills, a calm demeanor, genuine kindness, and an intense desire to work hard and perform well. Amelia has thoroughly learned the curriculum of our English, math, and science classes, among others. She learns each student's background, their strengths, their weaknesses, their interests, and she uses that information to build positive relationships and enhance their learning. She's thoroughly learned the job duties of all the teachers and paraeducators. When one of them is absent, Amelia takes the initiative to step up and take up the slack and make sure that all the important responsibilities are tended to. When a teacher has to suddenly step away from instruction, Amelia immediately takes over teaching the class and often adds additional resources and activities to enhance the lesson based on the students' backgrounds and interests. Throughout each day, she collaborates with her colleagues about the students' achievement performance throughout that day. She has an unwavering patience and respect for all students and is able to provide them with genuine empathy and compassion while holding students to high standards for behavior and study habits. Not surprisingly, students seek out Amelia when they're feeling distressed, and she helps them work through whatever challenges they've confronted at that moment. When she was asked how she manages to stay so calm and positive in response to student acting out behaviors, Amelia said that she simply assumes everyone has good intentions. Each week, Amelia manages to solicit lunch donations from local restaurants as a weekly reward for students who demonstrate high academic and behavioral achievement that week. Amelia's professional excellence is based on a foundation of great personal qualities. She's a role model for our students and staff, and we're proud to call her our friend and colleague. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Photo op.
Yep. And you.
Yep.
Are you doing it?
That's not going forward, though. Thank you. There you go. Now it's going forward. Okay. Next, we'd like to recognize Lorena Ledesma, Nutrition Services Coordinator, and Jay Brown.
Okay. Lorena joined our food service team 19 years ago. From the start, she exceeded all of our expectations. She started at Granite Bay High School and not only contributed to the high school program, but was integral to the success of the Eureka program, especially in the areas of menu development and operational efficiency. Before the opening of Antelope High School, I knew I would need a special coordinator for that site because it was not only a high school, but it was also my dream of a central bakery for the school district. Because Lorena graduated from the Culinary Institute of America, the same chef school I graduated from, so we're buddies, and had extensive work experience as a chef, we knew that she would be perfect. Lorena was enthusiastic about opening Antelope and played a crucial role in our new bakery. 14 years later, and we're still making over 3,000 fresh muffins every day. 5 or 6 years later, Lorena transferred to Wood Creek High School. As usual, she did an outstanding job running the kitchen. Then the pandemic hit. Wood Creek went from serving 500 meals a day to around 1,500 meals a day. Once again, Lorena rose to the challenge. Even with short staffing and supply shortages, she found a way to make sure that every student received a meal during these difficult times. Lorena, you truly deserve this recognition, and thank you for all the hard work that you've done.
Thanks, Jen.
Thank you. Next, we'd like to recognize Christine Newton, Human Resources Technician, and presenting on her behalf is Brad Basham.
Christine was first hired as the district office receptionist in 1998 before being promoted to the human resources technician position in 2000. Christine's stellar tenure with the district has made her our credentialing expert. For years, she has been responsible for onboarding our new certificated employees, a job she handles with care and precision. She's very patient and friendly and detail-oriented as she supports our new hires throughout the clearance process. She regularly collaborates with site and district office staff, answering any questions they may have regarding credentialing requirements for new courses or their teaching assignments for the new year. She is the liaison with the Placer County Office of Education as well as the California Commission on Teacher Credentialing, where she communicates district needs, fixes any kind of credentialing problems we may have or errors, assists staff members with securing or renewing their credentials. Her knowledge and expertise in this area is second to none, which is why site principals, district administrators, and partner districts routinely reach out to Christine for her guidance. This year, Christine was also tasked with training and supporting a second HR technician. Our district has grown, and we are fortunate that Christine can share her knowledge and expertise with a colleague. She has embraced this new responsibility and has done a remarkable job training and supporting our new HR technician, Kim Hoffman. Christine is a problem solver, too. She will search for creative solutions, including the use of local assignment options, securing short-term permits, or finding a viable credentialing program to ensure that we have properly credentialed teachers in all of our classrooms. She does this with the utmost integrity. She's always looking for solutions that best support the district and site goals while ensuring compliance, keeping us out of jail. Don't make things worse, is what we've always been told. Lastly, and most importantly, Christine is a very valuable member of the HR department and a very member of our HR team, a colleague that I trust implicitly with hiring and supporting and onboarding all of our highly qualified educators and providing outstanding customer service, which in turn positively impacts our students in the classroom. It's an honor and a pleasure to have nominated Christine Newton as the Clerical and Administrative Assistant Classified Employee of the Year.
You should get up there with them.
No. Next, we'd like to recognize Anayat Sharifi, Coordinator, Student Information Systems, and recognizing Anayat this evening is Judy Fisher.
Thank you. Thank you. Good evening, everyone, members of the Board of Trustees, Cabinet, and guests. It is my pleasure to speak to you tonight about Anayat Sharifi, who is the RJUHSD Classified Employee of the Year for Technical Services. Anayat is a dedicated employee who excels as a coordinator of student data information systems. Anayat takes great pride and care in his role ensuring our data is accurate, up to date, and aligned with the state's standards for the entire district. It's quite the job. One of Anayat's greatest strengths is his ability to identify areas for improvement within our student information system and implement effective solutions. He has played a pivotal role in streamlining our data management processes, resulting in increased efficiency and accuracy. And furthermore, Anayat is a team player and collaborator, always willing to lend a helping hand and to share his expertise with colleagues. He has a knack for breaking down complex technical concepts into easily understandable terms, making him an invaluable resource for our team. Additionally, Anayat is appreciated by his coworkers and colleagues for his work ethic, his common sense approach, his ability to laugh when the going gets tough, and there's a lot of them, and of course, his amazing salsa. Okay, he is the salsa king, and I'm talking about the appetizer, not his dancing. But these are just some of the qualities that make him the Roseville Joint Union High School District Employee Classified of the Year for Technical Services. Congratulations, Anayat. This is very well deserved.
Next, we'd like to recognize Martina Waldrop, dispatcher, bus driver, and recognizing Martina this evening is Lakey Singh.
Good evening, everybody. Before I start my speech, I was just talking to Jay a few minutes ago about Martina, where she worked before, and what a great worker she is, huh? Yeah. Thank you. So Martina has been an employee with the district for over 12 years and currently works as a bus driver and dispatcher. I started working with her about 8 months ago when I started in my position as Director of Transportation. I'm very impressed with her work ethics, driving, and organization skills. She has been an excellent bus driver with proven safety records. Her patience and smile makes the bus ride enjoyable for many students she transports on a daily basis. Martina is always willing to transport additional students when needed. In her role as dispatcher, she's very good at communicating with other drivers and parents to resolve any route issues they have. Her computer and organization skills has helped the transportation department maintain accurate data for mileage and students driven on each route on a daily, monthly, and yearly basis. She's very good at adopting and implementing new changes. Martina is very quick to respond to the inquiries she receives. We are very fortunate to have Martina part of our team and are proud to recognize her as one of the 2024 Classified Employee of the Years. Congratulations, Martina.
Thank you.
Good job.
Finally, this evening, we'd like to recognize Jonathan Tanner, custodian, Roseville High School, and recognizing Jonathan this evening is Chris McGuire.
Congrats. Yeah, any side. You pick. Jonathan has been serving as our day custodian at Roseville High School for the past 8 years. In the district, we have great staff here, and Jonathan is definitely an employee that I appreciated when I started working in the M&O as the M&O supervisor. His top priority is the students' safety and smooth daily operation of Roseville High School. The Roseville administrative team appreciates the way Jonathan connects with students with a level of respect and interest in building relationships. During the school year, Jonathan is able to juggle multiple requests throughout the day to quickly address the needs of the site. You know. During the summer, his attention to detail and his floor cleaning knowledge is important during our deep summer cleaning. He does awesome shampooing and stripping and waxing floors. What is unique about him is Jonathan is aware. He knows that we are here to serve. Jonathan comes in every day knowing we are here for the students and site staff. When he's called on, he is there to respond and is always willing to help. He is quick to assess what needs to be done and flexible to respond to ever-changing needs. Outside of work, Jonathan stays busy with his family and enjoys fishing. I myself, I've enjoyed many conversations, swapping stories and pictures of fishing trips. So if you enjoy fishing, I encourage you to take on conversation. He'll swap stories with you. Jonathan, I appreciate all your hard work and thank you for all that you do. Congratulations on being named Employee of the Year.
My pleasure.
As a principal at Oakmont High School for 10 years in this district, I can't tell you how much our classified employees meant to us over the years. They're the heart and soul of everything that goes on a high school campus and so often go unrecognized for the incredible work that they do. So if we could give them one more round of applause for our classified employees of the year.
Thank you very much. We are now going to move to item 4.2, which is our athletic recognition winter season for 2023-24.
We're going to transition because I have a surprise for you tonight, so I need to get some people from out there in
Okay.
here. So,
All right, we like surprises sometimes. Yeah, I can do it.
You never knew where I was going to go next time. I don't know. Where can we go in alphabetical order?
you guys all ready? Okay, as we're working on getting the presentation up, so if you've been around for long enough, we know that we do our athletic presentations and 3 times a year. In the fall, we do the athletic and performing arts. Winter, we're just doing athletics. And then in spring, again, kind of early summer, we'll do athletics and all the performing arts and great things that are happening on campuses. So tonight is just winter. But since I know that you get to see me 3 times a year, and I know you all love Mel presenting to you, but I thought, wouldn't it be fun if we actually had students here tonight? So we have almost all of our school sites with students. We're going to start with Antelope, but it is a female power night tonight. So we are starting with our one and only female athletic director. And I will go ahead and call up Jordan, and then we're going to move to all of our female athletes who are here to represent their sites.
you're stuck with me for a few minutes, and then you get to hear from the kids. But to speak on our winter teams over at Antelope, overall, we had a really successful year. All of our teams were playoff contenders going into the last couple games. Our boys and girls soccer and wrestling had a couple of heartbreaks right at the end. But to highlight a little bit, our boys and girls basketball programs, both programs made it to our section playoffs, got to play in both home and away playoff games, which is always a fun adventure for the teams. Specifically, our girls basketball team, they were CVC champions for the 10th year in a row. They also, again, went to the section playoffs, and they were NorCal regional quarterfinalists. They have made it to both those section and state tournaments for the last 10 years as well. So really exciting for them. On top of that, with them particularly, they have really high academic GPA. They're at a 3.7 as a team GPA. Not quite up there with the section academic champions, which is something that we compete for, but it's still something really important to point out. So on top of their athletic achievements, they're getting things done in the classroom, which we love to see, and we're super proud of all of our teams and what they accomplished this winter. Thank you.
All right, we have Granite Bay. I've asked each student representative to come up and introduce themselves, let them know a little bit about, let you guys know a little bit about themselves, and then they'll talk about their site.
Hi, my name is Gigi Garcia, and I was one of 3 captains this year for the Granite Bay Girls High School varsity soccer team. And I've been a part of this program all my 4 years of high school, and it really has provided me a community on campus that has gone beyond just the field and into my classes and everybody that I interact with. And I attribute a lot of the opportunities and experiences I've had to this team. And we had a very successful season this year. We went to the San Joaquin finals and the NorCal State finals. We lost just by 1-0 each time, but we were really close in there. And to get that far, we had a lot of comeback from behind victories. And it was really in those games where we had to come together and support each other that I feel like we really became a team. And I really can't thank the school and the coaches and the athletic director enough for giving us this opportunity. And I just feel like these sports are so important for what they do for us in our community at school. So thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we have Oakmont. 2 more ladies, who, by the way, stepped up today. So we're going to really give them a round of applause because they volunteered today.
Good evening. My name is Bella, and I'm a junior at Oakmont. I'm a part of the Oakmont Health Careers Academy, and I was varsity captain for soccer.
Hi, I'm Haley Mahoney. I'm a junior at Oakmont. I'm a part of the IB Diploma program, and I was the goalkeeper on the girls' varsity soccer team, and I'm also a varsity athlete for the track team.
Both boys and girls basketball saw an increased number in athletes participating compared to recent years, and the boys added freshman and sophomore teams back to the program this year. The girls won more league games than any girls teams in the past 6 years. Our boys soccer team barely missed playoffs by 1 game, and the girls soccer team saw their 5-year playoff run, and as they fielded a team that was made up of quite a few underclassmen. Personally speaking, it was a tough year, but I feel like we really came together as a team in the end.
Our boys and girls wrestling teams battled all season and placed multiple athletes in the San Joaquin divisionals, with 2 of our girls moving on to masters, and our winter sports program had an average GPA of 3.35.
Thank you.
All right, Roseville High School.
Hi, I'm Hank DeMello. I'm the athletic director at Roseville High School. And I brought Lonnie Fawn with us, and she doesn't like to brag about herself, but she's got a lot to brag about. She's the Dale Lackey Scholarship Award winner for the section. She is a 4.5 GPA student. She's a 3-sport athlete, although this year she can't be 3-sport because she ended up with an injury, which she fought through for 2 sports. She's probably going to be the valedictorian. and using all of that with 18 AP courses. So if you have any questions about AP courses, she probably knows them all and probably a good person to ask. So you're up.
Hi everyone, thank you for having me. And to recap Roseville's winter sports, boys basketball placed third in the CVC, and they were the number 8 seed in the D3 section playoffs. We hosted the first round of section playoffs, and Clark Nielsen was selected to participate for the North squad in the 2024 Optimist Basketball All-Star team. Our boys soccer was also third in CVC and the number 9 seed in the D3 section playoffs. Our girls soccer was 4th in CVC and the number 8 seed in the D3 section playoffs, and they advanced to the quarterfinals of section playoffs. Our wrestling team was 2nd in CVC and advanced to section team duels playoffs with 5 individual CVC champions, 11 wrestlers advanced to divisions, 7 advanced to masters, and 2 wrestlers advanced to state. And our winter sports overall GPA was a 3.47. Thank you.
All right, West Park High School.
Hi everyone, my name is Megan Herman and I play girls soccer for West Park High School. I am also a part of the Panther Athletic Council, and I'm here to share some of our winter sport accomplishments. So first, I wanted to share some of our transformational data from this season. At the end of every single season, all of our athletes are required to take a survey. They ask various amount of different questions, kind of just resulting on how the athletes felt the season went and some feedback for the coaches. And so here are 2 of the questions that were asked on the survey. You guys can read them. Overall, 88.1% of people strongly or mostly agreed with the first statement, and then 83.33% of people strongly agreed with the second statement, which overall I feel like just kind of overall values. It just really represents our program, because without our amazing coaches and our amazing athletic directors and our amazing programs, we wouldn't be able to have the successes that we have on our field without those amazing people. And also, while playing high school athletic sports, I know for me personally and many others, we learn so many different life lessons, and we have so many different experiences that prepare us for the future. And they just go way beyond the playing field, and they will continue to follow us as we continue on in our paths and even after our sports end. And then I wanted to highlight one of our student athletes on campus. He's a wrestler. His name is Caden Obian. He was one of 14 athletes in California, and he received the Pursuing Victory with Honor Award, so that was really awesome. And then next, just to go over some of our on-field accomplishments. Both our boys and our girls soccer had amazing seasons. This year, we fought super hard, and we ended up on top with 2 FVL champions, 1 for each team, which is our first time in school history, which is super, super cool. And then we have our boys basketball, which also came home with their very own FVL championship, and that was also the first time for them, and they continued on to play in the second round of NorCal playoffs. And then finally, for our girls basketball team, one of our student athletes, Jill, she had an awesome season, and she ended up reaching a milestone of 1,000 career points this season. So yeah, that's about it, and that's all. Thank you.
And finally, Wood Creek.
Hi, I'm Gabby Bueno. I'm a senior at Wood Creek High School, and I'm also a varsity women's soccer captain. And I am our student section pack leader, as well as a part of the Wood Creek Athletic Council, where we strive to help our sports teams on campus create purpose statements. Anyways, so we would like to recognize some of our coaches and athletic directors. So Brian Jew got the Boys and Girls Volleyball Award for being a model coach, and then Grant Gensler got the Norm Mackenzie Award. And then to highlight our winter sports, girls basketball and boys basketball placed second in the CVC. And they both hosted the section playoffs, and girls made it to first round as well as the boys, and they also made it to the quarterfinals. And then for girls soccer, we hosted the playoffs and we made it to the quarterfinals, and boys soccer placed 4th place in the CVC, and then wrestling placed 5th place in the CVC, and 2 wrestlers at Masters. And that's all.
Again, I'd just like to take a moment to say thank you to all of our students who've made it here tonight out of their evening. I know they probably have a lot to do and a lot of homework to go do. I'd like to thank our 2 athletic directors that made it here tonight, Jordan and Hank, and as always, thank you to our administrators who support our athletic departments as well. So hope you appreciated the winter athletic highlights. I know it was much more exciting hearing from our students than from Mel, so I will apologize for the spring presentation when I'm back. So thank you.
Thank you. We'll now move on to our next sections, reports and communications. I've asked Heidi to read our board expectations.
All right. Board expectations. Prepare all students for life, college, and career. High-quality academic opportunities for all students. Support student academic success. Engage in partnership with families and the community. The school is a welcoming, safe environment that serves as the center of student learning, activities, athletics, and performing arts. Promote a sense of community in our schools and the surrounding areas. And lastly, utilize effective governance and business practices. Remain open, transparent, and accountable to the community, and serve as an employer of choice with the highest quality teachers and staff.
Thank you very much. We'll now move on to board reports, and I don't have one this meeting. So Marla's saying no as well, or would you like to go?
I wasn't going to say anything, but I was blown away by the fact that I didn't know that Antelope made all those muffins. And I did make it out there a couple weeks ago to visit more EL classes, and I guess I have to do a third time because okay, all right, so.
They won't let me go to the bakery.
I will report, I really enjoyed, I was welcomed at Antelope and West Park and Wood Creek High Schools and welcomed by Principal Cutts, Principal House, and Principal Bell, and I thoroughly enjoyed hearing more about your wonderful schools and getting a little glimpse of the students there and visiting with them. And so thank you so much for that welcome. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I got to spend just a few minutes at the Unified Sports, which was really, really fun to see and talk with some of the students there.
Heidi.
All right, you guys got to up your muffin game because I got the special tour of the bakery. They didn't let Pete, but they let me in. It was fun. So I did a little different routine. Instead of meeting with principals or visiting schools, I got to meet with 2 of our new board members. So one-on-one for coffee, just because I didn't know these ladies prior to their appointment. So that was nice, just getting to know them a little bit. I'm going to meet with some teachers next week, and that was about it, a relaxing spring break. So,
Carrie.
So just the only thing really to report is last week I was able to go to Roseville High School and had a wonderful time going through a math class with 2 and getting to see some of the vertical boards on the walls. And then I got to see the EL program and what Adriana Brooks is doing there, and just being able to kind of pick her brain a little bit and have her share about all of her expertise in EL and some of her hopes and dreams for expanding programs and making them better to serve our students. That was really special. And I think next week I'm at 2 high schools, I think Wood Creek and Granite Bay, I believe.
Thank you. And now on to my 2 favorite board members.
It's the person. Okay, so I don't have a whole lot, but so this week at Roseville, we're doing CAS testing. So all the juniors and sophomores and freshmen are CAS testing. Luckily, the seniors aren't. So the seniors are actually doing something called Senior Olympics, which the PE teachers are hosting to get the seniors to come to school. But it's really fun. So you basically create like a team of like you and your friends, and we just do random competitions. Like the first day we did an eating competition, and it was really gross. My friend ate mayo, mustard, whip, and gummy worms. Ugh, it was really gross, but it's really fun. So yeah, and then we have our school Yosemite trip, which I'll be going on next week. We go for 5 days. It starts April 17th, and we're gonna be unplugged, so no phones. And I know. It's still hitting me, but yeah, so that's gonna be a lot of fun. And then we have our spring carnival this Friday, and our Latino Student Union just put on a baile last week. I don't know if I said that, but that means dance in Spanish, and it was super cool. They did a spirit week, and then they had a dance at the end of the week. So yeah, that was super cool that they got to do that. But that's Roseville's update.
Thank you.
Pass it on.
Sarah?
I think it's dead. Oh, here.
So we're still preparing for our spring dance, and to do that, we are hosting a movie-themed Spirit Week, as our dance theme is Hollywood. So we're getting ready for that, and we also had CASP testing this week.
Wonderful. Thank you. We are now going to move to our superintendent and cabinet reports. We'll start with John and work our way right down the table.
Yeah, just again, to recognize our classified employee of the years. I mean, the amount of work that goes on in the service rendered by these employees, the ones tonight, and then all the other hundreds of them in our district, it's just amazing what they do behind the scenes for our students, for our athletes you saw here, the amount of overtime and extra duty it takes just to put on all those athletic events for those students. I just can't say enough of them, including the bakery with Miss Ledesma. I remember Rob and I and Miss Ledesma when that first opened, the walk-in bakery. So it was good times there. The last thing this is a crazy time of year. It's kind of the conclusion of the year, testing, college decisions, a lot's happening. Kids talking about what college they're going to go to, all the way to can I get across the stage. There's a lot happening and a lot of stress that takes place. And I was shared an email today, and I want to read it because it really, one, credit to the Pathways counseling team and staff, but just what happens this time of year. And this is a snapshot of one situation, but hundreds of these are happening this time of year, and I just want to read this to you. I hope you all take a moment to congratulate yourselves as well. This is a response to the counselor letting a mom know her student's going to graduate. Before you, I was doing all I could to keep my child from giving up on life. Family support wasn't enough. The self-acceptance happened when your amazing staff accepted my child. There is not a large enough word to express my gratitude, so I will just say thank you. You should all be proud to be you. You saved a life, an incredibly amazing one too. So Ross, to your staff, great job. To all of our admin, teachers, classified, this is what we do. But this is the kind of stuff that happens. When we see graduation and we see kids go across the stage, this is what happens many times right before that. And that's what makes this work so worthwhile. So thank you.
Mel.
I'll wipe my tears a little bit from that one. Yeah, okay. I'd also like to acknowledge and extend my congratulations to the classified employees of the year. Student Services actually works quite a bit with Anayat on projects, and so for the past 2 years, he's just been amazing to work with. And so from attendance to Aries to registration to all the work that we do in Student Services, I just want to give him a shout out as well, so we appreciate, as well as all of the other employees of the year that were honored tonight. And I'd also like to give a special thank you to Hayden Olsheiser, our district coordinator for Unified Sports. I know we just hosted last Friday at Antelope High School. Even though it was freezing outside and it was softball and freezing weather, our students enjoyed friendly softball games and a lot of great competition. Again, I just cannot give enough credit to the site representatives, the admin teams, the coaches, the teachers that are getting on the bus and taking all their students over to a site to play these games. It's amazing participation, and we have one more event in May. So just for you to know, it is track and field on Thursday. It's not a Friday, May 23rd at Granite Bay. And hopefully the weather is beautiful on May 23rd at Granite Bay, and we will all enjoy track and field in the stadium. Thank you.
Wonderful. 2.
I just want to reiterate, I think everybody knows that our juniors are right in the midst of CASP testing. All of our Board of Education members have heard our reports to you during our mid-year LCAP report, and we many kudos to both our teachers and our principals who have really taken our CASP efforts seriously, but all the love in the world to our students who are showing up and showing us what you know and doing your very best so that we can show not only our city and our state, but all the talents and the intellectual contributions our kids have. So our 9th and 10th graders are engaged in the interim assessments while their 11th grade peers are engaged in the summative assessments. So we're really looking forward to seeing the results, hoping that it will go up. Additionally, this morning we had our principals meeting and we continue to talk about instructional leadership. This morning we focused on Jason Grissom's report out of Vanderbilt, commissioned by the Wallace Foundation, around those instructional skills necessary and how our principals affect student achievement as well as culture gains in our schools and systems. And this morning we had robust discussion around what coaching looks like as the instructional leader of the building. So we look forward to continue our conversation.
Thanks. Joe.
Tonight's always one of my favorite nights each year, just because I like to call the classified employees of the year often our unsung heroes, because they are often behind the scenes doing great work to serve our students and serve our city. So it's just a great time where we get to honor them. So that's always fun. Another update for the board. I know we had a student and a parent who came that was in a wheelchair and had concerns about the theater. Just wanted to let the board know that we've addressed the concerns in the theater. We've been able to make some additional space at the top where they can, students in a wheelchair could be able to be in a better spot for viewing things in the theater. So, and hats off to Isabel and her staff who was able to coordinate with them and make sure that it met their needs, and the maintenance department for making those adjustments.
Thank you. Brad.
I'm actually going to move up there.
All right.
Slide deck up for me. So I'm pretty happy because I have Christine as the Classified Employee of the Year for HR, but I also want to talk about AXA. And one of AXA's priorities is to ensure that school leaders are recognized for their excellence. And through their annual awards program, we honor administrators for their achievements, their dedication to public education at both the regional and state level. And if you recall, maybe, you can go ahead and do it for me. There's only 3 of them. So there you go. So remember in January, we recognized through a district announcement that Jennifer Layton received a Distinguished Service Award, and Rob Hasty the HR Administrator of the Year Award, and Sue Ann Bell the Secondary Principal of the Year Award for the AXA Placer County chapter. All well-deserved awards. And their names were forwarded on to Region 2. And so tonight, I'd like to make sure that everyone has an opportunity to recognize our HR Administrator of the Year, Rob Hasty. So Mr. Hasty is the Region 2 Administrator, HR Administrator of the Year, and Region 2 represents all of the Northern California counties. So Butte, Glenn, Colusa, El Dorado, Alpine, Nevada, Placer, Plumas, Sierra, Sutter, and Yuba. So, and then his name will be forwarded on to the state level competition as well. But I just wanted to take a moment, since he always spends time up here recognizing everybody else, that we would recognize Mr. Hasty. His 22 years with Roseville Joint. He's been an AP, an assistant principal at Granite Bay and Antelope, principal of Oakmont High School. He's currently the executive director of human resources. He's a valuable, you probably need to stand up here. Come on. He's a valuable and trusted member of the superintendent's cabinet. He manages the district substitute teachers, the student teachers, the athletic coaches, and the volunteers. He has created a substitute teacher handbook and a volunteer handbook, and he's working on an employee handbook. He assists with updating HR-related board policies and administrative regulations. We have so much fun doing that, don't we? He's reviewing and updating every certificated job description in the district. Some of them have not been updated since the early 90s. Yes, I was working here. The district's Title IX. He's the district's Title IX coordinator and equity officer, where he supports site administrators, staff, and families through the investigative process. He provides annual training as a proactive measure to reduce or eliminate unwanted incidents of discrimination, bullying, and sexual harassment. He has served on the district's negotiations team for 15 years, gaining the trust and respect of district staff and association leadership. He has a run-to-the-fire approach that has made him a touchstone for our principals and assistant principals. He has made the HR department and this district better, and as a colleague and a friend, he has made me better. So please congratulate Rob Hasty in being selected as AXA Region 2 Human Resources Administrator of the Year. Thank you.
Thank you all very much. Congrats, Rob. I don't believe we have any committee reports, do we? Nope. So that means it's time for the Natalie report. Welcome.
Sorry. Just kidding. Good evening. Welcome back. I guess for us is this is the time of year where, as Mr. Becker said, it gets a little crazy. But if you notice, the feeling in this room is very different because we had February break, it's spring break, and we're coming back. It's only been like 1 week and a day. It seems like 6 weeks ago we had spring break. But we're ready to go. It's just the time of year where stress starts to happen, but it's the highlight where all the fun and acknowledgement. And Ms. Dobson for bringing the students on board. That was a really great presentation. Enjoyed it. And to hear Mr. Landon talking about the classified staff. I got to work with many of them in the past, or they don't even know they worked with me, but they did. And also they literally keep us together. And I have to do a public apology for Christine Newton. Wow, I already dropped the name, I'm so sorry. I'm gonna calm down. Christine Newton. I apologize for all the extra emails that she gets because people ask me questions because they think I know everything. And I said, do me a favor, email her because she will know it. If she doesn't, she will send you in the right direction. So I apologize right now for why she has so many extra emails. With that said, as we progress, I had a meeting with Julie Winkle, who we sat down and talked about the visions for PD Day. Not only are we ending a school year, but we're also planning. And I appreciate the communication now is coming in, or continuing to come in, and also working with Ms. Tucaros and Jennifer Layton, who we'll be missing soon, and Lisa Stanley, who's going to overwork me. But anyway, to come back and to talk about PD days, and I really appreciate the communication with Winkle, who also was talking about how we're now going to go back to addressing restorative practices and how laws have changed and how classroom behavior is very different. We have a very different generation of kids coming through, and it's also going to help us kind of shift the mindset because it's not an easy. We all were so comfortable with how things were in the past, and then COVID shook it up, and I feel like we're still kind of dusting off the effects of COVID. So I appreciate the communications. I encourage them more. Pick up the phone, call me all the time. I don't work it all during the day. Told you I do. But I just want to say thank you for that and looking forward to the further conversations. Go.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, we'll now move into public comment. Do I have any more cards? Because I'm right on the edge between 9 and 10, so I want to know before we give the timing. All right, we have less than 10. So we'll have 3 minutes per speaker, up to 3. Don't feel like you have to take them all if you don't need them. Our first speaker is going to be Hudson, followed by Arathana. I don't know if I got that right, but hopefully. Yes, push the person. There you go.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, my name is Hudson Barnes. I'm part of the Placer County Youth Commission, as some of the other students are back there. And I also attend Granite Bay High School. If you'll walk into any bathroom at Granite Bay High School, you know right away that vaping is a big issue. Drug use in the district is a big issue. Additionally, last year I believe there was around 700, just over 700 suspensions total across the district, and a large proportion of those were drug related. So clearly, suspending kids for drug-related offenses isn't necessarily working as well as we probably like it to be. And so that's why me and some of the other members of the Placer County Youth Commission have been coming up with a solution, a Canvas course that individuals who are suspended would take to learn about the dangers of vaping. This course is made for kids, by kids, and it's made in conjunction with district and personnel. So it's a conjunction between kids and district people. And being kids, we know how easy it is to game the system. We know everyone who's trying to take this thing are going to want to game the system. So we're using methods to try and force them to interact with the material and face the realities of vaping in a way that they can't really get around. This course will go over topics like dangers of the tobacco industry, long-term, short-term effects, those sort of things, social repercussions, that sort of stuff. And it's completely online, and well, it's our goal is for it to be completely online and for it to be self-driven, so you won't need a teacher to be sitting there watching over these kids. We believe that this is an important step in making an impact on drug use within the district, and we would like to contact each one of you individually, and if you have any further questions, reach out to the Substance Abuse Prevention Subcommittee as part of Placer County, and on Instagram, or just on the Placer County website too as well. So thank you, that's all for me.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Arathana, followed by Amre, and if I pronounce your name wrong, please correct me.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Arathana Nagaraja, and I'm here as a student and a member of the Placer County Youth Commission. I have witnessed the detriments of vaping and smoking among youth firsthand, and even among some of my own friends. I have seen how it impacts not only themselves, their education, mental health, and well-being, but also the people around them. In my school, like many others, seeing your peers vaping in bathrooms or in the back of the classroom is no rare event. Unfortunately, I have also observed how suspension has not often been an effective tactic in persuading students to stop using vaping and smoking products. I have seen many cases where previously suspended students continue to vape and smoke on campus. At the Substance Abuse Prevention Subcommittee of Placer County Youth Commission, my fellow commissioners and I identified this as an issue last year and have come up with a feasible solution. We created a completely online, self-driven Canvas course for these individuals to take to better understand the dangers of vaping, smoking, or using marijuana. Our course includes modules like the effects of vaping on your body and options for cessation. Made in conjunction with district personnel, this course was made for kids by kids. Being teenagers ourselves, we know how easy it is to game the system. Thus, this course forces teenagers to interact with the material using ed puzzles and required quizzes. We want to make sure that they are faced with the realities of vaping and strongly believe this can be used as an effective alternative to suspension. We will contact each of you individually to further discuss this course. And if you have any questions, please reach out to the Substance Abuse Prevention Subcommittee at the Placer County email, at their website, or on our Instagram. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Amre, followed by James.
Good evening. My name is Amre Abu Markia, and I'm currently a senior at Granite Bay High School. I'm here kind of to reiterate the points that other members of the Substance Abuse Prevention Subcommittee of the Placer County Youth Commission have pointed out. And I happen to be the chair of the Substance Abuse Prevention Subcommittee. And so as members of this subcommittee, we're deeply concerned about the rampant use of vaping among students in our schools. Touching on what Hudson said, is at Granite Bay High School, it's extremely common to find multiple students vaping in the school restrooms during lunch, during passing periods, and even in the middle of class. So clearly this issue isn't just a physical or mental issue, it's also taken a toll academically. However, this should not be surprising because the tobacco industry has historically tried to target youth to maintain profits, including in and around schools. School policies that are designed to tackle this issue often contain punitive measures like suspensions and expulsions. According to the Public Health Law Center, punitive measures like suspension and expulsion to penalize student violations of a school tobacco policy are not reasonable because of the tobacco industry's targeted marketing, the science of addiction, and the long-term consequences associated with expulsion and suspension. In addition, according to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, the most effective approaches to helping youth quit tobacco use are through counseling and education. So that's why the Substance Abuse Prevention Subcommittee has taken an initiative and is currently developing a course through Canvas, which some of the modules include Why Youth Vape, and debunks these common reasons, the science and effects of nicotine, vaping, smoking, and THC. It also explains the history and the role played by the tobacco industry. And it also offers options for cessation. As other members touched on, we'd like to meet with each one of you individually to discuss the course as well as outline the benefits of education instead of, and show the drawbacks of, punitive measures. And so if you have any questions, please contact the Placer County Youth Commission. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is James. James, I know you put in 2 cards.
You know what, I'll put the other one for later. I'll come back another time.
Yeah,
Thank
you only get one anyway, so.
Oh, man.
And then after James will be Teresa. Come on, James.
Hey, it's good to see everyone again, by the way. Thank you for all your hard work that you do. Of course, I got to be the killjoy tonight because when I was here running for the open position, one of the things that came up was my social media page while I was vying for an open position. And which had nothing to do with the position or my credentials for running for the position, number one. So it was said it was inflammatory and it was a distraction, okay? And so I sent an email, I'm sure all of you got it. I'm a little bit disappointed because I never got an answer from anyone, okay? So we talked about being open and transparent with the community. I'm part of the community, and so I sent that email to just to let you guys to know my views on it. Number one is that, and I had the pleasure of having a cup of coffee with board member Coleman. Thank you very much. And she brought up, well, first of all, no examples of my social media being inflammatory was ever entered into the record. And this is spoken publicly. So I think publicly that should be noted, number one. And number two, she was nice enough to provide 2 examples, and the 2 examples were just not acceptable, let's put it that way. The 2 examples were a meme that I put up apparently of basically saying that walls work in light of our immigration issue, and that the president is not in good health by showing him falling down on a meme. And this is just known, if this is all we got to talk about, then, and that's a problem, then we're in pretty good shape. But for that to be the example of being inflammatory, and it's pretty much well-known knowledge now that our president is not in good health. So bringing that up and using that in this type of venue, I don't think was right. I don't think that, and I also think that it should be publicly noted that there was nothing inflammatory about it. So thank you for listening, and I appreciate all the hard work you guys do. Thank you.
Thank you, James. Our next speaker is Teresa, followed by Nick. Welcome.
Hello. My name is Teresa Enrico, and I am one of the health leads in our district. I work at Oakmont. I haven't taught health in a couple years, but I do value it and think it's very important. And so I've been part of the leads committee to work on our health curriculum and bring it up to date and bring it to standard with the state so that we are in compliance. The health leads met in last school year, 2022-23, and we've worked for an entire year aligning our curriculum with all 6 schools to make sure that we are on the same page with our learning objectives and our activities and everything. And we are doing our very best to teach to the standards and what is required of us as professionals and what the state requires of us. I speak for some, not all, because they made it clear, don't put my name on that, so I'm not going to. So I speak for some, that we do know the importance of our health curriculum. I think we had a lovely example today of some of our students who find it very valuable and want additional learning and additional supports. Our health curriculum is very outdated, and we are doing everything we can as health teachers to bring it up to date and bring us in alliance with the state and the standards and be in compliance. I'm here tonight to ask for help. please help us to adopt a curriculum. Please help us to get a textbook that is recent, not our 2010 textbook that is old and outdated and does not have current stats and the information needed that our students require. We work hard every day to do what we need to do for our students, and we have been told that more information is coming. Don't use any materials unless it's been adopted and approved. And we came into this school year hoping to pilot 2 textbooks that are current and relevant that we went through and we looked at as an entire district. And it didn't happen. And we were told, just wait, more information is coming. Just wait. And nothing has happened since December, and all 4 of our meetings, including the one today, was canceled because we have no new information to share. And this is sad, and this is valuable time that is lost. And I ask for your help. Please work with us. I know that the public is heated right now with the current political climate in the health topics. We understand that. We want to work with you. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Nick, followed by Meg, followed by Matthew. Welcome, sir.
Hello, thank you. First of all, I just want to thank everyone for being here tonight and giving us an opportunity to have a voice. So thank you guys for your attendance. My purpose here tonight is to bring up possible impact on the Wood Creek baseball boys program. So currently we're at risk of losing some field allocations for the freshman and JV program to the ladies softball program. So there's some key points that I wanted to bring up are that our dugout club program parents and players have spent countless hours fundraising and maintaining with purpose of bettering the field conditions of the field that the JV and freshman team co-utilize at the moment. The boys and parents have put in the sweat equity that allows this program to be, that are dedicated to the enrichment of these young men and a positive representation of the Wood Creek High School baseball program. I would like to request that the board vet this possible outcome with both sides of the coaching staffs there, as well as athletic director, to come up with a solution that benefits both the boys and the girls for this possible outcome. So, thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Meg, followed by Matthew.
Hi again, board. I wasn't going to speak tonight, believe it or not, but I felt compelled by Mr. Becker's report. You've heard that the work that they're doing on our sites is life-saving, and yet you still chose to remove the explicit language in the board objectives that drives the goals for the district, supporting students' physical, emotional, and mental health. You know that it's life-saving. I can't understand it. It's dangerous what you guys are doing. It's dangerous.
Our last speaker is Matthew. Welcome.
Start talking?
Yep, push the button.
Okay. So I don't know, just start with, I don't exactly know why I'm here. I want to kind of echo what Nick was talking about the baseball program at Wood Creek. I guess you guys can't answer the question. Like if I were to ask a question, you can't answer it. I don't know. I haven't looked at a Robert's rules in a long time. So
I'll just answer that question.
Okay.
We can refer you to staff for clarification.
Okay.
This is your opportunity to provide us your perspective, and then staff will follow up.
Okay. So essentially what I was told, and this was just a matter of hours ago, is that the JV freshman baseball field at Wood Creek is going to be reallocated to a softball field. I understand why the girls softball team does not have a field at Wood Creek High School. They're at Mahaney. I get it, it's off campus. I wouldn't really like that either if it was my son that was in that situation. However, what I would say is that, taking away from one group in order to give to another group, I don't think is, maybe the best or a reasonable decision. There is a large area on the backside of Wood Creek that, can be used, that can be turned into a softball field. Just a quick, Google Maps search, Antelope, Granite Bay, all the other high schools within the district, they all have at least 3 fields. We have 2. We have 2 baseball fields and we have no softball field at Wood Creek. You'd be asking for 3 teams to share 1 field. The potential of losing a freshman team is very high, just because of the time restraint that would happen. And that's not fair to a lot of the boys that would be coming in as freshmen. You'd be asking them to not play for a year and then hope that they can make a JV team the next year. If the roles were reversed, I don't think that any of the softball parents would think that that was, a fair and equitable thing for their kids. The other thing, if this was in fact decided, who was there? Who made the decisions? That's what I would like to know. Was the baseball program in on this? Was the softball program in on this? Were the parents ever notified? I wasn't. Maybe I should attend the meetings more. I don't know. But just kind of some transparency, if this is in fact moving forward, would be great. And really having, the kids in mind. What is the cost of creating a softball field versus renovating a baseball field to become a softball field? I can't imagine it's that different. So let's use the area that we have, and let's get the girls a field. Thank you.
If you leave your number with one of the staff members, someone will follow up with you.
Okay, I actually was told, Joe, that I could talk to you after the meeting. Would that be okay? Yeah.
All right, that's the last I have of public comment. We're going to move into the consent agenda. I have one request to pull an item, item 6.8. Do I have any other requests to pull items from the consent agenda? Seeing none, do I have a motion on the consent agenda? Absent item 6.8.
I'll make a motion to pass.
I have a motion from Marla, a second from
Second.
Heidi. We'll do roll call vote.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Oh, yes. I almost forgot to answer my own.
Yes.
Yes.
All right, that's unanimous. Thank you. We will now hear item 6.8. Tiffany, you asked to pull that?
Yes, I did. So 6.8 is the approval of the certificated job description update. And it's the updated job description for a school counselor. And so I had a great opportunity to visit with Brad and Mel and Rob to better understand for myself this updated job description. And I felt like it would be important for our public to also hear the short summary of the process of updating the job description. I know, Rob, that you've been going through all the job descriptions and updating them, so I think that would be informative. And then also just a very brief refresher on how this job description differs from what students can access through the wellness centers. As a layperson, as I was reading it, I just thought, okay, help me understand, are these overlapping or are they different? I understand, but I think our community would like to better understand that as well.
Sure, I'll do my best, and if you need clarifying questions, I'm glad to do that too. So as far as the process overall, what we're trying to do is an audit of all of our certificated job descriptions this school year. So we're hopeful that we'll be done with those. This is one of the last ones to be done, and as I think you saw, and I think we talked about it earlier today, I think the last time that this job description was updated was in 1993, so it was long overdue, and it's something that was important for us to get done. A big part of this is to make sure that, number one, the job descriptions are clear to anybody who applies for any of the jobs within our district. They understand what's expected of them. Knowing that a job description is not a full, comprehensive, exhaustive list of everything that you would do in a job, but trying to hit the key areas. Additionally, in addition to just trying to make sure that it's clear for folks that may apply for jobs, we're also really interested in making sure that it's transparent to the community what's actually being done in this job description and any other job description, so that people have a general idea of what's going on there. So that was the general intent of trying to do that with the job descriptions. Does that help a little bit with the background on that?
How did you come up with the job description that you presented?
Yeah, good question. So what we do when we're going through the job descriptions is we work with all of the folks that are in that job, currently in that job description. So what I did was I worked with all of the counselors in the district. I worked with one in particular that's kind of the lead, and he worked with all the other counselors. And what they would do is look at ed code. They would be looking at, when it comes to counselors, we really rely a lot on the ASCA model, which is kind of the standard in the country when it comes to school counseling. And so staff looked at that. We looked at other job descriptions in other areas around the area and other districts to try and align and make sure that we were covering the overall job description for a school counselor and making sure that we weren't missing any vital pieces. Okay. Okay.
Any other questions? Oh,
There was a second part to my
go ahead.
question. I don't
Sorry.
I don't know if you were going to answer that, but just how does it differ or coordinate or connect to the Wellness Center, if at all?
Yeah, so I'm going to take a stab at it, and Mel and Brad can jump in if they want to. So our school counselors, the main difference is, to me, is this, and I think we talked about it on the phone a little bit today, and Brad used the term triage. And our school counselors in general are kind of that front line of getting a lot of things that come to them, from messages like you heard from John today. Could be a boyfriend and a girlfriend breakup, and one of them ends up in a counselor's office. Could be, a fight, and all of a sudden somebody's in there. Could be something that's happening, anything, a myriad of things that could be going on with our kids. As we know, they go through a lot of things and at this age. And so what our counselors will be doing is working with them. Our school counselors do short-term counseling. They're not doing therapy. They're not doing long-term counseling. So that's where the major difference would be, is that what our counselors will be doing is working with a student who comes into their classroom or comes into their office. Could be, something as serious as suicidal ideation, and something as simple as, I'm really worried about my test today, and help me through that. And so our counselors will work on that huge gamut, and they'll determine what supports that student needs. So they'll work with the family and make sure that they're in communication with the family. If they determine that wellness center help and support is needed, they would refer the student to wellness for support, obviously working with the family to make sure any tier 2 or tier 3 services are coordinated with the family. And then if there's anything outside of the district, they could also refer the family that way if there was such a need. So that's the big difference between our school counselors. School counselors are largely focused on the academic aspect of things.
Thank you. Thanks so much. I know for me, I see the word school counselor, and then we've had the wellness and their counselors, and I'm like, how do different counselors differ? And so I really appreciate that. Thank you. And thank you, everybody, for helping me and helping explain that more, at least for myself. I don't know if anybody else did.
Glad to do it.
Any other questions from board members? Seeing none, do we have a motion on this item?
I will motion for approval of the certificated job description updates.
Wonderful. Do we have a second? Nope. We have a first and a second. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
That's all of us. Thank you. We'll now move on to our action matters. Number 7.1, employment of the Director to Curriculum and Instruction, Multilingual Education, and English Learner Support.
Boy, we need to come up with an acronym or something for that one.
Isabel.
Yeah. So throughout her tenure as principal of Oakmont High School, Isabel has been an outstanding school leader who is clearly focused on college, career, and life readiness for all students. She has made a difficult yet thoughtful decisions while maintaining strong academic CTE, VAPA, athletic, and activity programs at Oakmont while they've been experiencing declining enrollment. Prior to joining Roseville Joint, Isabel served 21 years in the Sacramento City Unified School District as a mathematics teacher, assistant principal, and principal at multiple Title I schools, serving English learners, homeless, and foster youth. It is here that she learned best practices for supporting English language learners and their families. This is knowledge and skills that she'll certainly use in her role. So in addition to being bilingual, Isabel has earned her Bachelor's of Arts degree in mathematics, a Master's of Arts degree in teaching, a Doctor of Education in educational leadership, and she has mentored aspiring administrators as a member of AXA. So I'd like to recommend Isabel because of her educational background, her professional experience, and her leadership expertise. We believe that has well prepared her for her new role as Director 2, Curriculum and Instruction, Multilingual Education, and English Learner Support. So with that, staff recommends approval of her promotion to Director 2.
Well, let me see what I have to say about this. I have nothing to say but congratulations, maybe, if we approve it. Anybody have any questions, comments, or concerns? Do we have a motion?
I will make a motion to approve.
So
If we
we-
can shorten the name.
We have a motion from Heidi. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a second. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Wonderful. Well, congratulations, Isabel. I can't call you my favorite principal anymore. No offense to the rest of you, but they're all wondering. I've called them all that at some point in the past, but you'll be my favorite. I'm not going to go through the whole title, but anyway, congratulations. Look forward to working with you. Our next item, now that we have a vacancy, is to discuss the employment of a principal for Oakmont High School.
I'm sure glad you guys approved the last one so that we can do this one. Yes. Mark Buljon is a graduate of Roseville High School and a lifetime resident of the city of Roseville with numerous ties to the East Roseville community. He served several years with the Roseville City School District as a teacher, assistant principal, and director prior to joining Antelope High School as an assistant principal in 2022. As the principal of Warren T. Ike Middle School, Mark worked hard to rebuild community trust and support following the closure of Sierra Gardens Elementary School. He established a new IB program at the middle school and worked with Principal Rob Hasty to foster a collaborative and productive relationship between the Warren T. Ike and the Oakmont High School staff. Mark is routinely recognized for his friendly, caring, and collaborative approach and his sense of humor when working with students, parents, and staff. At Antelope High School, Mr. Buljon has done an outstanding job leading the special education and VAPA departments, as well as supporting the student activities program and facilitating the change process for a new school-wide intervention program. Mark is an outstanding leader who has the knowledge, skills, expertise, and character to serve as the next outstanding principal of Oakmont High School. And although he will be deeply missed at Antelope High School, yes, we know that he will make an outstanding Viking. So staff recommends the promotion of Mark Buljon to principal of Oakmont High School.
And he missed an important qualification or facet of Mark and one of our other favorite student board members.
Yes.
His dad, right here, George's dad. So,
yes.
Do we have any comments or concerns? Anyone want to grill Mr. Buljon with any questions? This is your chance to, ask him any questions or anything. All right. Do we have a motion on this?
I'll make a motion to recommend the promotion of Mr. Buljon to the position of principal.
Oh, too many lights on. Oh, there you go. Okay, now.
Am I taking over?
Go-
you want
go-
to do it?
go ahead.
Okay, I'm doing it. And I'm just going to, say, this is probably the wrong time, but I'm doing it anyways. I met your son at the Unified Sports, and he came up to me, and he was so great. And I thought, okay, fine. I will definitely consent to his dad. What a fine...
I guess this is a bad time to tell you he takes after mom, huh?
Oh, okay, sorry. Anyway, but he was a really great young man. So I will make a motion to recommend the promotion of Mr. Mark Buljon to the position of principal, Oakmont High School.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. None opposed. Congratulations. Now you get to sit through these meetings every single 2 weeks. You get to be here.
Lindsay made me wear the.
I'm just saying, I'm still his boss for a little
But I know he looks good in blue, so don't worry about it. I forgot to ask Isabel, do you have anything that you'd like to say, or Mark, do you have anything you'd like to say?
Well, on behalf of language learners, which I was one all my life, I would like to shorten the name of my title as well.
But we'll work on that.
That's what I will say.
Mark, anything?
I just wanted to thank all of you for this opportunity. I'm humbled, right, and I feel privileged, and I want to thank all the admin team here. They've been very supportive. Isabel's been great, very welcoming. But I mainly want to thank Lindsay Cutts. I've seen principals come and go, and she's one of the best I've been around.
And there's no truth to the rumor that my daughter said she got out just in time, so. Let's give them both another round of applause. All right, moving on. Item 7.3, approval of a new course, and I don't know who's leading this one. Is that you? Two.
I'm going to introduce it, and then Jen will give us any.
Oop, thank you. I'm going to introduce it, and then Jen will give us any additional information that you request. So mock trial course is a course that has been proposed by one of our West Park High School social studies, social sciences teachers. They came through our SILT committee, and they received the recommendation of our SILT committee to moving this forward to our Board of Education for approval. I'm going to turn it over to Jen. Anything else to add?
I got the button on this time. I really don't have anything to add.
Well, good thing you got the button on.
I know, I'm just practicing. But it's a great course, and we're excited to offer it to you. How about that?
Do we have any questions?
Do we?
I don't see any. All right. Do we have a motion on this?
Quick comment, which is that my neighbors who homeschool, they do mock trial. It's a very huge part of the homeschool community, and it's so amazing. So I was really excited to see it. I was telling them, like, we're getting mock trial, assuming that we all approve it. So motion to approve.
All right, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Now, any comments on the motion? All right, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Congratulations, we have a new class, too. Well, I'll make an exception. Yes, go ahead.
I just wanted to add one thing. I'm really excited to see this class. I know we really push AP classes, but I'm super excited to see a class that a lot of students, your everyday student can be exposed to and grow and learn and present. I mean, these are fantastic skills for our students to have. So I'm really excited that we're bringing that program to our district.
And thanks to Principal House for pushing that forward.
All right. Well, that passed unanimously, so we're going to move on to item 7.4, core textbook second reading.
All right, so thank you. So this is, as per Education Code, our second reading of these 5 textbooks that you see in front of you, including AP African American Studies, Mock Trial, AP Environmental Science, AP Pre-Calculus, AP Physics, and also these 5 textbooks have gone through our SILT committee and have received our SILT committee's review as well as recommendation for your approval. And if you have any questions, our Ed Services team, including Ms. Layton, is here to answer your questions.
All right. Do we have any questions on this item?
I do.
Go ahead.
I'm turning on my microphone.
Very
I'm
good.
going to get real close. Okay. So on this, if you would, because I am so new at this and coming in, if you would give just a brief summary of the process that the textbooks have gone through to get to this point for this final approval, including any opportunity for community involvement.
Absolutely. So when we do have a new textbook proposal, the very first place that starts is with our leads, our curricular leads. And then a principal will bring it forward for one of their leads. And that starts us on this process where we go through various levels of vetting, I would say, not approval, because you are the body that approves. So initially, it is brought forth via principal. As we vet it through leadership and various levels, I then start preparing the SILT agenda that's happening later on in the month. So what I do 3 weeks out, so let's say we have a new textbook in underwater basket weaving. That's not a very good example, but we're going with it, basket weaving. As we are sending it through the school site councils to vet it through there, I see that it's probably going to be on the SILT agenda and probably going to end up with you. So 3 weeks ahead of time, I send, you may have noticed, a very tentative SILT preview. Hey, this is what's coming. So that goes out to every student, every guardian, parent, every staff member in the district 3 weeks ahead of time as we work through it internally until we get it to that larger group. So SILT is comprised of a principal, an assistant principal, 2 parents, an RSCA rep, and a counselor from every site. And then we also have 2 board members that come and listen. So that said, let me go back. So I've sent out the tentative agenda. Then I work with the principals and make sure that each of them puts that instructional material, the information on their school site council agenda. And then that is posted 3 days before their meeting. There's a public comment link on the bottom of every school site council agenda, so anybody who wants to can comment on it, and then anyone who wants to show up at the meeting and comment on it can do that. Then the principals let me know if anything has come forward that I should hear about. So that they've all put their school site council meetings on the same week so that this all goes in a particular order. So now we are preparing, Lisa Stanley and I, director, are preparing for our SILT meeting. So 1 week before, often the Friday before, so about 10 days before, I will send out the final SILT agenda to everyone, again with a link on the bottom for anybody who wants to make public comment, with every single link that's applicable, everything that we can do. We also have all of the books available at the SILT meeting. We know that the meeting is not public, but the half hour before, we run in there in the Wood Creek Library and set it all up. Anybody who wants to come and look at the book may do so. Then, during the SILT meeting, we discuss it. Teacher presenters give the rationale, and then we sit at our tables, discuss as a whole group. And then I ask the same question every time. Have we asked the, wait, let me read it. Have we addressed the questions? Have we addressed the questions and gathered enough information so the board can make an informed decision? And they gave me a thumbs up, sideways, or down. And then I say, let the record show. And then we take those notes. Next morning, we post them on the website. And then as I prepare for the next cycle, I send out a tentative agenda, and the whole thing starts again every month. And when I send out a tentative agenda, I always put a link to where all of the notes are on the website so anybody can read anything that they want to. Now, then I confer with Assistant Superintendent Caros, and then I write a briefing and send it to her for approval for you all. First reading is an information item. It's just a, hey, just to let you know, this is the book that's being recommended. And then we have to have, per ed code, have 30 days out there at the school sites and here at the district office of the books being on display with comment sheets. We also put it on our website this entire time so anybody can access that. And then after 30 days, then I come to you again, second reading, and that is on the approval.
If I may just add, Tiffany, also our processes are, we adhere to our processes as according to board policy. So your board policy that you've passed, which has the attached administrative regulations, and the corresponding policy 6161.1, which is the selection and evaluation of instructional materials.
Okay, so that's kind of a brief, well, that wasn't very brief, was it? But that's an overview of what we do.
And then I would just add, after we adopt the textbooks, Placer County Office of Education maintains a copy of all the books that have been approved for the curriculum in the county and make those available for the public to access as well. So that's like after we take our action. Any other questions on this particular item?
Thank
Go
you.
ahead.
Thank you so much. And also, were there any comments received from public or SILT members about any of the curriculum, especially the AP African American Studies? AP Physics is probably fine.
I actually did get a comment on AP Physics.
Well,
The
there you
parent
go.
was
Did you get
very excited that we were offering AP Physics too and loved the textbook. So we did get that. As far as out at the sites for the last month, we got no comments. Now I went back into our public comment, which is at the bottom of every SILT agenda, and we just got a couple of comments saying, I want to see more. Well, we got 13, a total of 15, 13 very, very positive comments. We got 2 anonymous comments that I just don't print those out for the SILT committee because they're anonymous, and I say that when I send it out. Only identified comments are going to go before this group. And then finally there were 2, so that's actually 15, 17, 2 comments about wanting to see every single thing involved in this course. So for AP African American History, the textbook comes directly from the College Board. The curriculum comes directly from the College Board. So that's the stuff we're using. But these people, these 2 comments wanted to see everything every day. They wanted to know why there wasn't more for them to look at. And it just isn't feasible, but we're totally, they're welcome to come in and sit with us, but we don't share every single day's lesson plan.
Thank you. And I think you had said these have been piloted in 2 of the high schools as well. And so you've had good feedback from
at both Roseville and Antelope High Schools.
Thanks so much.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Any other questions from any other board members? Do we have a motion on this issue?
I will make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Have a motion, a second. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None. That carries unanimously. We now are going to move on to item 7.5, consideration of fee study justifying an increase in level 1 statutory school facility fees. That is you, Joe.
Yes, thank you. So this item and the next item are kind of related. This is the first item, which is our developer fee justification study. We have to do one of these every 2 years. To update the amount of statutory school facility fees we collect from new development. And I will say the majority of our developers pay a separate fee, a different fee than this. They have a mutual benefit agreement. We've had a great relationship with our developers who see the value in our schools being well thought of and nicely built. It helps draw people to want to move to Roseville. I know a number of people often say they moved to Roseville because of the good schools. And so we have a great relationship with our developers. And so the majority of them pay an actual higher fee than what's listed here. This is for the ones that, like typically the smaller developers who don't have a mutual benefit agreement, they pay this statutory fee. So every 2 years, the state of California updates the dollar amount and requires us to do a justification study to basically show that we have a need for these fees, which we do, because we have to continue to update our facilities. So the increase in cost, the base cost, was previously $1.90 per square foot, and this justification study allows us to go up to the state minimum, which is $2.05 per square foot. This is just the accepting and adopting of the justification study. The subsequent action will be about a resolution and a public hearing.
Okay, so just emphasizing these are 2 separate agenda items. One, as Joe said, just says that we accept this study as is presented, and then we'll have the public hearing and resolution. Any questions on the study itself?
I have some questions. Have some fun reading.
Yes.
So, and forgive me for not asking these ahead of time, but I think they're very simple. So the study basically showed that we really need, it was $2.17 and $2.14, but we can only go up to the 205 because of the mutual agreements with our feeder districts. Or I guess what they call it, the fee sharing agreement or something. So fascinating. So, so we need more money to maintain the schools with the, the modernization.
Yeah.
And so you mentioned that some developers give us a little bit more. So I'm curious, do our feeder schools also need the max? So how did we arrive at this, the mutual percentage that we all get?
Yeah, so that is determined by the state, the percentage that goes when there's a high school and elementary district, the percentage is predetermined. But most of it's the majority of our developers do pay the higher dollar amount. And that works for Roseville City as well. They have a little bit different agreement. For a while, a number of their new schools out in West Park were actually built by the developer initially and then paid back to and so they had a different agreement. But so
it sounds like all of our schools were sharing this $5.05.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming we're not leaving any money on the table, meaning the feeder schools don't need it.
Correct.
Okay,
There's
okay,
no money being
all right,
left on the
okay.
table, that's for sure.
Okay. I think that was basically.
Okay.
All right, any other questions? Do we have a motion to adopt this study?
I'll make a motion to adopt.
So we have a motion, do we have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None. We'll now move into the public hearing. This has two portions for us. I think Joe's going to give a little bit of an introductory, or did you cover it all?
I think I covered it all.
Then we're going to open the public hearing. If there's any members of the public that want to speak, they'll have an opportunity to speak. I'll then ask for a motion to close the public hearing, and then we'll consider the resolution separately. So I will now open the public hearing. Do we have any members of the public here to speak on item 8.1, public hearing and consideration of resolution number 2406, approving an increase in level 1 statutory school facility fees? I see none. Do we have a motion to close public hearing?
Motion to close public hearing.
And a second?
I'll second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, now we have in front of us the Exhibit A, which is the Resolution 2406 Developer Fee Study and Level 1 Fees. Does anybody have any questions on the resolution? Seeing none, do we have a motion on the resolution?
I will make a motion to approve the resolution.
So Heidi made a motion to approve the resolution. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
So Marla gets the second. Any questions on the motion or discussion on the motion? This is a resolution, so we do it by voice vote.
Yes. 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 Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
That passes unanimously. Thank you very much. We now have two additional public hearings. These will just be public hearings to hear from the public. We will not be taking any action on them. The first is item 8.2, a public hearing with the district contract proposals to RSEA. Do you have any introductory comments before I open the public hearing?
Just that our current contract is in effect till June 30th of 2026. So this is we're going into successor negotiations. So that means that we always open wages and benefits, and then both the district and RSCA can open 2 additional articles in our collective bargaining agreement. And so this first one is the district's proposal, which is wages and benefits, as well as Article 8, leaves, and Article 15, summer school teacher selection. We want to make sure that that language in both of those articles is reflective of our current practice, as well as any changes to the law.
All right. Does anyone have any questions on that before I open the public hearing? We'll go ahead and open the public hearing. Any members of the public wish to speak on this item? Seeing none, do we have a motion to close the public hearing?
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
Heidi makes a motion to close.
I'll second.
Tiffany seconds. All in favor signify by saying aye. And Brad, we don't need a vote. We're just do you need a vote for acceptance, or we're just?
No, we just open it up for public comment. We take those public comment to inform our meetings and conversations with, negotiations with RSCA. So.
And that
no.
leads us right to our next item. So the other half of this is to sunshine the RSCA contract proposals. Brad?
Yes, so in addition to wages and health benefits, RSCA would like to open Article 7, hours of employment, and Article 10, class size.
I am going to open the public hearing. Do we have any members of the public that wish to speak on this item? Seeing none, I'll ask for a motion to close the public hearing.
Motion to close the public hearing.
Heidi moves to close.
Second.
Marla seconds. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
None opposed.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. We're going into a staff report, but I need a quick break. So I'm going to ask everyone for just a short 2 to 3 minute break. So if anyone needs services like I do, you can go do that. All right, let me check. Are we ready to go live? All right. Thank you. That was probably a little more than 2 minutes, but thank you. That was a much-needed break. We are now going to come back to our agenda. We are on item 9.1, discussion on setting board policies. Before I get started on this, I just want to remind everyone, we still have to go back to closed session after this, so don't think you get to split as soon as we're done with this. Reason we're here tonight is we've had a lot of discussion on how policies are created, where policies come from, what are the processes on them. Some of you may have known or noticed in previous meetings, we've talked about our policy on setting board policies. That's been attached as an exhibit on this item. We do have a policy subcommittee our policy committee that meets probably every other month. I don't know if we meet actually every month, but we meet quarterly. We meet quarterly to review policies. I know there has been some question on what the policy committee does, whether they approve policies or not. And essentially, it's almost like what Jen Layton referred to with the SILT committee. We make an agreement to pass things onto the board. We don't actually make any approvals. We generally will ask questions, perhaps ask for some clarifications, ask for some edits or deletions, or sometimes just say, we don't think this is something that needs to go to the board. But we're going to kind of go through that whole process today together, and then we'll have a discussion to determine if there's anything that we want to do in the future. Since this is agendized as an informational item, there will be no formal board action on this item tonight. With that, I'm going to hand it off to our superintendent, who's going to start us off.
Yes, thank you, Pete. So yeah, this was an opportunity to bring this back for the board to have a discussion on how they like to see board policies make their way here in front of you. The current process of the board policy development is, as you've heard, CSBA sends us a quarterly update on what that looks like. Kim gets that and has to kind of parse it out to the different departments and who's going to be working on which policies. Then those policies, usually with an assistant soup or a delegated person from their department and their clerical staff, kind of review the policies. They look at the changes in the notes from CSBA, which I'll share with you in a minute. So those become draft policies, which then come to the Board Policy Review Committee, and then they're vetted at that time, and then ultimately the two board members there will decide, does it go onto the board agenda, does it go back for revision, or is it just something we just don't need to do at this time? And then ultimately they come here for the board for the final ratification. So simply speaking, that's how it happens. One of the things we've known over the years is this has evolved. Brad and Joe have done this a long time. This used to be a very little involved process, and ARs were never even brought here. They were just done in cabinet. So it's evolved extensively over the last 3 to 4 years, with the Board Policy Review Committee being the newer type process over the last couple of years. Which I think is, for cabinet, as we debrief, has been really helpful because we get a sense of where things are and we start to create targets of where these policies can go. One of the things that you probably have seen as we're noticing is our state loves to make new laws. And every one of those new laws impacts an EDCO, which impacts a board policy. And so we're constantly seeing these changes coming through, especially in the HR side of the house. We're seeing a lot of new laws. Some of the other things we've seen is we get federal program monitoring, which is when the United States Department of Education, through the State Department of Education, comes in and reviews our policies. And they have specific ways they want to see the policies, so much so that sometimes they will say you cannot use CSBAs, you have to use CDEs. And if you don't use it word for word, we won't pass your monitoring test. So you get a lot of things going on there that swirled around. So one of the things that I wanted to share, I just gave you samples. So some of the things that come to us quarterly, and there's a list of some of them. So we get like this last one, we had a March policy guide. I think you see just a couple of what it looks like. There's a summary. You'll see the first one there of what comes through Comprehensive Safe School Plan. If you just look at the administrative regulation of the Comprehensive Safe School Plan, you'll see there's 4 new law changes in there that come through. So we start with this kind of policy sheet. What is new from CSBA? What is new from the state? So that's kind of our home base. Then we have a policy manual with notes. That's 200, this last one is 291 pages of change notes that we have to sift through. And then there's a policy manual with tracking, with changes, how they track the changes in policies. That's 445 pages. So that tells you how much work is done by CSBA's legal team to go through all of this. And so again, that's what we kind of go through when we do this. So one of the examples, if you just look at this kind of shows you how the changes are made. So we would take this sample policy like this, and then we would take our current policy. And as you can see, there's language under each. And so we look at what our policy is, and then we look at what changes CSBA is recommending. Sometimes it's just the change in vocabulary. We know, politically speaking, vocabulary is changing pretty rapidly. What we call certain items and things and groups is changing quite a bit. And so we're starting to see that coming through a lot now. Language changes. We're seeing law influences. More so now than we probably have in recent years. And so that's kind of where we're at. And when you saw that January cycle come through, which kind of, you know, sparks some interest, it's really because there's significant law changes now and how laws are being applied. You know, and so that now we're navigating even new waters with some of these new laws where we're having to become legal experts on the fly on some of these things. The other thing we're also having to look at more now than we have before is what embellishments are happening in CSBA language, you know? And so now we're having to even go beyond what they write in their notes. Is this truly the ed code? And that's a new place where we're at right now, is having to even dive a step deeper into ed code, which again, these are hours upon hours. If you see them over here just not interested in this conversation at all, it's because this is, I'm not kidding you, it's 10 to 20 hours per cycle. And so, and it's only growing because of the significant amount of law changes. So our goal when we go through these is, one, is to try to have these written as a target to what our objectives are, or our board expectations, our goals, and where we've been as a district with past board policies. And we try to keep those aligned as we go forward. And again, what we appreciate is when we bring it to the Board Policy Review Committee, that's the opportunity for that board to kind of, are we on track? Do we need to go back? Is this significant? Is this a small change? Then that gives us an idea, a pulse of where we're at with the policies. And again, ultimately, our job is to bring policies for which you guys can then have the ultimate discussion of yay, nay, change, always go back, because they really are the policies of the board, which then we ultimately will follow. And so we're not beholden to any of them because, again, it's our operating procedures. And as you've heard Pete talk about, if we just follow ed code, it'd be a lot easier, but this is kind of a redundant process. But it does give us the opportunity sometimes to tailor these. And that's really where the work is any one of us could bring up a policy, and then how do we tailor that to fit our district? Sometimes we have leeway, sometimes we don't. I put in there in one of these the mandated, it's been a while since I've looked at it, what mandated policies are, and you can see the ed codes and government codes tied to that. But sometimes they're not, and that does give us some flexibility sometimes. And our hope is through this process that the board can tailor those and we can make those adjustments as we see fit.
Great. I'd like to give some additional background and context for the board, particularly the new board members. You know, we, when I first came to the board, I was surprised that we had a policy committee that met, but they didn't have agendas. They weren't posted when they were, where they were, and there weren't agenda materials available to the public. And that's when I took the opportunity to review the Brown Act that actually calls out policy committees as being one of the mandated Brown Act committees. There's a number of times the Brown Act requires noticing, and then there's sometimes where it does not. So it does not require full Brown Act compliance if it's an ad hoc committee that is going to be for a limited duration on a specific topic. It does not require Brown Act compliance if it is a subcommittee of a committee that's working on a special project. But it calls out specifically 3 types of committees: standing committees whose work evolves over a period of greater than a year, committees that deal with finance or budget, and policy committees. Those are committees that must have Brown Act compliance. So we started having the meetings, and it was an evolution. First, at least we were noticing the meetings, but we didn't have agendas. Then we had noticing and agendas, but we didn't have the agenda materials or the depth. And then we got to the point where we had the date, the time, the location, the agenda, the items, and all the policies. And then we got to a point where we got to redlining, and we came to a level where we were identifying the changes. So we've made a lot of progress over the last 4 years in making sure that what we do in policies is open and accessible to the public, because it wasn't, and it wasn't just here. In fact, many school districts in the area operated the same way. In fact, Roseville City School District just had its first Brown Act compliant policy committee meeting. And so I think that's important, and it is helpful. In fact, yes, Kim spent a lot of time with their admin making sure that they were getting it right. They didn't quite get it right the first time, but my wife sits on that committee, so I was able to give her a hard time. Now, first, I still don't understand the rationale of why school boards are required to pass a bylaw or a policy, depending on which section it is, that essentially repeats the law, whether it's the ed code or the government code or the elections code. You look throughout it all. No other form of government works like this. So if the state changes traffic laws, cities don't pass new municipal codes to say we're going to follow the traffic law. Counties don't do that. The state legislature doesn't do that. Water boards don't do that. Only schools do that. I think it's dumb. I think it's redundant. I think we should just all acknowledge that whether we agree with them or not, there are laws, and we're going to follow them because we have to follow the ed code, the government code, the elections code, all those other codes. But we do it. I'll keep my personal opinions out on probably why I think we do it, but that's a whole nother thing. We have board policies, which, while not always originating with the board, are owned by the board. In other words, it's a statement by the board. We adopt them by the board, and those are the guidelines for the district. And then, as John mentioned, we have administrative regulations. The administrative regulations are intended to reflect the administration's interpretation of how they are going to carry out the policies that we have adopted. So one is our broadest goals, our direction to the superintendent and the district and the public as a whole. This is what we're going to do. The other is John and the cabinet's response. This is how we're going to do it. And we as a board approve it. Essentially, that's more of a ratification so that we are clear that we understand how they're going to carry out our policies. John mentioned that we've seen a significant increase in the number of policies that we've seen, and I'll just be blunt. A lot of these are retaliatory policies from the state. One school board or one group will do something, and then laws will be passed telling us what we must do instead of what we should do. For those of us who are concerned with local control, and I know it's a priority of CSBA and OXA and all the other groups that represent us as an educational community, that continue to push for local control, because many of these things quite simply have taken local control away from local school boards, local cities, local counties. But we find ourselves in an environment where we need to do this. I'd also, I guess I forgot something in the context and the history. When Heidi and I first got on the policy committee and started working on things, we discovered that there were policies that hadn't been looked at in over 20 years. So we did an audit of all of our policies. I know staff thought we were crazy because there's literally thousands of them, but we wanted to know which ones were up to date, which ones weren't up to date. And we went through a process we actually hired CSBA. We hired outside organization to go through and do the audit because of the amount of work that it would take. And at that same time as we brought them up to date, we also changed the way we present our policies to the public. We used to have a very cumbersome process. Ours now is still a little cumbersome, but it was way worse back then. It was very hard to get to the policies. So we've not only made the policy process more accessible to the public, we've made our policies and administrative regulations much more acceptable or accessible to the public. So that's where we find ourselves now. I think we still probably have a ways to go in getting to where we're getting, but this is our opportunity now to look at what we have, sort of take our temperature, see how we feel about our process, ask our questions to staff, and determine where we want to go. I know Marla has brought up in the past, other school districts have done things differently. I know there's groups like California Department of Education has model policies as well. There's other groups externally that have model policies. This is our opportunity to ask those questions, air those potential ideas. Then we can sort of ruminate on them and kind of figure out how and where we want to go as we move forward. So I've been talking a long time, but this has been a 4-year project, literally, that we've been working on. So with that, Marla, do you want to start with some of the discussions around some of these other policies or other processes?
Well, sure. I think what's important is, so I have never been to a policy committee meeting. So when the January awareness came about, I became aware too. So I met with Tu and Melanie just to understand much of what John just stepped through. So I'm just giving my own background, because I didn't know what they did either, and I had no idea how much time was spent every quarter when you get your CSBA download. Obviously, it's very important to make sure, I think, we stay laser focused on what we're legally what the laws are. But then you mentioned the embellishments and just it's a suggestion, or this would be good. And so I appreciate the sample here, because it looks like CSBA, if this is a true example of what CSBA sends, it looks like they're saying this is optional, this is law, but it's probably still a lot to go through. So my first thought is there a way that we can just stay focused on what the laws are? That's my first thought. And so are there other organizations that only laser focused on the law versus all the other bells and whistles? Curious.
I don't know if we know the answer to that question yet.
I don't know.
But I know we've been asking it. Does anyone have an answer to that? Have we found any other source besides CDE or CSBA? Okay.
I know there's a small district organization that I ran across, but you have to, I think it was under 5,000 ADA, but they were very laser focused on, that was part of their service.
And I did do some research after you mentioned that to me, and they have a different requirement under law on policies.
Okay.
I didn't go actually read it myself, but that's how it was explained to me, just.
Okay. So I think my goal, because I just believe in being efficient, and if there's a way that we can help direct or suggest for our cabinet to be a bit more, can you just focus on the laws? I don't know, but I don't know how to tell you to do that other than doing your workflow differently.
I'm going to ask, I know you mentioned the program monitoring. Are there two different levels of program monitoring, and how do they differ from CSBA? Can you say that one more time so that we're all
Federal program monitoring comes in and looks at all of our categorical type programs, and then any subsequent board policies or administrative regulations attached to those. So it's been a while now, but I remember when I was in Mel's former position, they were talking about the suicide prevention policy. And we're like, well, we have that. It's CSBA. And they're like, no, you have to use CDE's model. And they were adamant, if you don't use that, we're not going to pass you through. And so you get stuff like that, or they would have us change language in some to fit whatever narrative they want. So and if we had to do that and send it all out to the public and bring it to another board meeting. So we've had to do that a few times in the past. We've had to revise it. There's language they want to see in it, which might differ than what this board sees in that. It might sometimes.
Just to clarify,
yeah.
that's federal program monitoring,
Right.
which means it impacts our federal education dollars.
Correct.
That come into our budget.
Correct.
And that doesn't, it's not like they come in and, it's not like they come in and audit this quarterly, right? Or do they send their 2-bit cents into us when it changes or recommended every quarter?
It's been almost annually, hasn't it, Rob?
Pretty close to every other year,
Yeah.
monitoring we get hit with.
Can you use the mic?
Pretty much consistently every other year, we've been getting hit with federal program monitoring because of the fact that we kind of fall into a category that really works well for the state because we're a joint union high school district, and so we're a little unique. And so they're trying to get a good cross-section of the state and different programs in different school districts, and so we get it pretty much every other year.
So I'm wondering if there's something that they put out there that has recommendations of things that they're looking for. So under all of these programs, so maybe like our new state and federal grant person, maybe that's something that they could pay attention to specifically so that we're not having to do this twice. We can look ahead of, well, we know when they come in next year, they're going to be looking for this. This is, we should probably tailor it this way.
The problem is that what you've got is you've got these that are changing quarterly. When federal program monitoring comes in, let's say they come in November. That means we've had some changes that have happened in the beginning of the school year. And we send out things like parent notification. And in that notification, some of these board policies are embedded in there. If those things change, we have to go back and actually change the board policy, which takes some time to get through our internal process. Then we have to go back and change the actual documents that were sent out to families and resend those documents out. Pete remembers the first year, I was here 3 years ago. I think we went through the uniform complaint process 5 or 6 times because, like John said, the CSBA said we want one thing, CDE said they wanted something different. So it's a cyclical piece, and I just want you to be aware of that sometimes it will stop some of our processes based on what they're doing and when we get hit with what they want.
Or we have a policy from the previous visit, word for what they wanted. They come back a year and a half later and they want it completely changed because it's a different evaluator.
Back to where it was.
Yeah, so we get that sometimes too. It depends on who's evaluating you from the State Department.
So they operate like the USDA?
Yes.
Yes.
So we'll keep working. Do you have more things I want to just kind of work through, make sure everyone has an opportunity to
My only other question is, where does the Placer County Board of Education fit in all of this?
hopefully out of our business?
Well,
sorry.
no, I'm assuming they also get all of the laws that are required to change. Is that something that is service that they don't provide?
Not that I'm aware of, no. We're all CSBA.
I'd rather not have their help. Sorry. Comments or questions?
This is just new to me. I guess I feel like it feels like our policies are just going to continue to grow and grow and grow and grow. Is there any way? I feel like how can we keep adding more and more and more policies till nobody knows what the policies are because it's too much to.
Well, I think we've passed that point.
Okay, we're past that
frankly, yeah.
point.
Most of these are existing. They just keep revising. So every so often a new one will come in. Hey, they are deleting the COVID mitigation plan though, so we got that going for us. But yeah, most of these are just revisions. The vast majority of them are revisions. So they're not adding new policy a lot, it's just applying new law changes to existing policies.
And then somehow we all have to keep up on what that is all the
Exactly,
time.
and so some of them that come through, you'll notice it'll say revised December 20, March 2021, November 2021, February 2022. I mean, Rob will tell you that's about how quickly they change them. So there's some that are almost standing. You're gonna, like uniform complaint procedure, probably is on every update. Things like that. They just revise it or they change vocabulary, what they call things. I mean, the battle of naming and vocabulary politically has now crept into board policies, and so they change those. Sometimes it could be a title of a student group, and now you've got 45 policies that have that title in it you have to go in and change.
So what, I guess I'm not clear on what options do we have then? What are we,
Well,
decide, or what are we talking about?
I will say that for as much as I am not a fan of CSBA, and you guys have heard me complain about them for a few years now, it's hard to imagine us doing it without the documents that they provide. Because I will tell you, before we started really actively doing that, we got to a point where we had policies that were 10, 15, 20 years out of date. So, except for the ones that federal program monitoring required us to update. Those ones got the attention. So I don't have an answer to what you're asking, but I think it's something that we have to continue to see. Because I would love to just say a policy that says, we have a board policy that we're going to follow the education code, the penal code, the vehicle code, the health and safety code, welfare and institution code, government code, education code, and be done with it.
Yes.
You just, but I'm not sure the path to get there. So
So there's,
I don't necessarily have answers
multiple
yet.
paths. I mean, like, some school districts do it differently than we're doing it, is what we're saying, and, or, I guess I'm not clear.
I will say we don't.
What we're, seems like their policies come through, we have to do them, so what are we really discussing?
I think we do a pretty good job. I think we could do better, but I think we also do a lot better than almost every district around us as far as keeping up with the policies. I think the areas that we could improve on my own personal perspective, and I think kind of echoing Marla on this, is looking at what are those things that we mandatorily must do versus those we choose to do versus those we might like to do. You know, there's different levels. I mean, we have, like when we created our behavioral threat assessment policy, we were the first. No one else had that. We created a policy that essentially we built to make sure that we had a policy that worked for our schools and our students and our community. That ended up becoming a model that now other school boards have. So we could have ignored that and not done that, but we felt it was important for us to have one. You could say the parental notification policy followed that path as well. So we can maybe do a much better job of identifying what we must do and then figuring out what those other categories of things that we'd like to do, but we haven't figured that path out yet. And so, you have something else before I go down this way?
I know, I'm sorry. So in the board policy committee meetings, are you really clear about what we must do? What was the I'll call it the embellishments, or just the extra stuff? Because some alarm was created in the community, right? Because it wasn't clear to the people when they were reading the agenda.
I don't think it was, I will say there were, the people who read it in the community that were alarmed thought those were policies that the policy committee had approved and were recommending the board approved, not understanding that we have a policy committee, so we have an opportunity to see and ask questions and vet policies. It really is the first public step of our process, where if you go back 4 years ago, we didn't have that. It just showed up in a consent agenda and went forward. So I think there were a lot of people, not just public, but as you said, you had no idea what we did. It was just an assumption that if it's there, staff is telling us we must do it and we're going to approve it and send it to the board, when really our policy committee has essentially, the instructions for staff will bring us stuff, we'll ask you questions, we'll try and vet them, we'll try and give you what we think the board would like to see, and then we'll move them to the board for discussion and approval. So that was the intent, but I don't think people knew that's what we were doing.
And that's part of what this discussion is, because
Right.
darn it, we can't talk about anything unless it's on the agenda, and
Yeah.
so,
Yes.
right.
That darn Brown Act I was talking about earlier. Let me get to this side of the table. You
Can I
look
add-
more interested in talking, so I'm gonna let you go first and then.
Yeah, I have a question. So then what happens in the board policy committee meeting when the last one, for example, we said, I think we need to rework this. We need to find out exactly what we are doing, what the intent is, and change it. So does that mean anything, any of the policies? So like, I'm going to take this March one, for example. If we're having a board policy meeting next week, or let's say next week, and we're like, ooh, there's 3 policies on here that we're not sure that this fits in with what our district wants to do. Can you please revise those, look at them, and then does it go to then the next board policy committee meeting? Because there's only 4 a year, or do you have a special?
Well, it goes wherever the policy committee tells it to go. So sometimes we have actually, Heidi and I have said, are you sure you really want to bring this policy to us? Because we don't think it's something we should be seeing. And they take the hint and it goes away. For a long time, they were bringing us all of their forms. And we said, why are you bringing us your forms? We're telling you, you have to fit this policy. If you have a form that you need to make your life easier, you're the administration, make a form. Don't bring it to us, because if you bring it to us, we then own it. We're going to probably make changes that are not good or that you don't need. And then every time you need to fix a typo or something, you're going to bring it back to us. So we said, think about what you bring to us. It really should be a policy. We've had other times where we've said, you know what, go back and work on this, figure this out, figure that out, bring it back to us. Sometimes we've done that and it's come back, but we check with the attorneys and the law says we must do it.
When you say bring it back to us, do you mean bring it back in a policy committee meeting or bring it back like at the next board meeting?
We've done both. We've brought them back to us. Sometimes they've been time sensitive, so we said do this and bring it to the board. Sometimes before they used to just all show up in the consent agenda without any information. And so what we've asked staff to do is to create a summary so there's context for the board. So you're getting a feeling of what the policy committee got. So it's not just here's a whole lump of paper, approve it. There are times when we've brought them to the board and before we have approved them, one of us or one of the other members of the committee, when there are other people on the committee, would say, we'll give some introductory remarks. Board committee met and we referred these are going to be on consent. These are more significant. Does anyone want to pull them or we're going to take them for action?
So that's because there is a line item in the agenda for committee updates or reports, right? So that could be something where we met, we talked about these 10 policies. There's so many that are going to come forward to vote on tonight and so many that are going to come on for discussion later and further information. Okay.
Yeah, and sometimes it would be, you'll note that there's going to be 6 that are on consent agenda because they're just bringing things up to date with names and dates. There's so many that are coming up because there's been changes in law, so they're being corrected to become in compliance with law. And they're all those are going to be on consent agenda, and then we have 2 new ones that we're going to take action on because they do more. Or you could do like we did with the curriculum policy or the parental notification policy. We said, we're not even going to handle that at a committee level. We're going to follow the bigger, broad policy that we're going to first seek information from the public. We're going to seek information from our staff. We're going to talk about what we expect and what we think, and we're going to ask staff to come back with a policy that reflects that. And then we're going to make a decision at a later date. So those are for bigger policies, major changes to operations or something new that we haven't done before. So on those, we felt it's not very prudent to have 2 people craft something that maybe 3 people don't like, or that we know there's going to be a lot of community concern, so why take it to a small meeting? Let's get the concerns out first, ask our questions first, then give our direction. So there's no straight answer because everyone's different. Because it could be this percentage of change or this percentage of change.
But it's the policy committee's job to determine the direction of each of those policy changes, whether it's minor, needs some investigation, or a grand conversation.
Yes, or it doesn't have to go to the policy committee. Like with curriculum, we brought it up at a board meeting and said, we'd like to do this. Does everybody agree? Everybody said, okay, so we said, this is the way we're going to go. So we as a board made that determination. So the committee advises the board, does work for the board, but does not do the work of the board.
Right.
Okay.
That make
thank you.
sense?
Yep. Thank you.
Heidi, I know you've been bored through many policy committees with me. What do you have to add?
I feel like for the amount of policies that come forward and the amount of paperwork and time that it is, I feel like the way that we have started doing it is fairly effective. I hear you, Marla, about, is there a way that we can only look at the ones that are mandatory? Because I would say I feel like most of it is a recommendation, a strong suggestion. And if we weeded that out and only focused on the ones that we have to modify or add, it might save time, but I don't know that for sure, because there's so many of each. And then, maybe the policy committee might have a different opinion. I always err on the side of bringing things to all of us. There are certain ones where Pete and I know for sure to kill it, but more often than not, it's coming to everyone, or we're sending it for some tweaks, modifications, work on a little bit more. So I would lean more towards what you, who have to do all of the legwork with it, recommend. I don't know. Does that save you time if we just focus on the ones that we have to do it?
Yeah, I would say that we're kind of in that process now, and I think as we've gone through each of our board policy review committees, I think the target for staff gets a little broader. There are times where well, that's optional, we haven't done it, so we're not doing it. Then there's times where it's optional, but we probably need this group to yay or nay it, depending on what it's attached to and things like that.
And I would add, there's also stuff that serves only K-8 districts or K-12 districts, and we're a 9-12 district, so we don't even do those. We say, no, unless it affects our students, and sometimes there's some that we, because of the age group or whatever, it may span both, but we try to dispense of those too. It's like, we don't need to do that. And pretty much we don't see them unless they have a question on whether we'd like to see them.
Yeah. And then one of the newer things that we've been discussing is how can we tailor some of the language that CSBA puts in. It's kind of extracurricular language that gets to the definition of the ed code and the policy or law, but how can we tailor some of that language to align more to the board expectation language? So those are just some of the things we've been talking about, how we can have the ed code there or the law there and then use some of our language that aligns to our expectations versus, say, some of the CSBA language.
Sometimes I think the legislature, their philosophy is, in this process, is we're going to pass a law telling you to create a policy that reflects the law. That way the complaints come to you instead of the state. That's our idea of local control. But that's more opinionated than fact.
Thank you, by the way, for saying you tailor it to the board expectations. I think that's really important that we all stay focused on those with all that we do. Because you're the ones that are dealing with this, what do you recommend of any changes to how it's done? I mean,
no, I think
it's hard for me to offer any advice because I have no idea. I've never done it. You guys are the ones. What do you think? Oh, this would make it go better. Or this would be helpful if we had this direction.
Well, they would just say hire an in-house attorney and a staff to do this for us, and so they don't have to look at them ever again. But I think we're in the right direction. I think when we come to the Board Policy Review Committee, again, we're getting a sense and learning of what's happening. I mean, we're trying to evolve with the changing climate of board policies. That's really the biggest difference, not so much the process as just what's coming. And then trying to navigate through some of the retaliatory legislation and how that imposes on local control, and then just trying to get a little more savvy on how we can utilize our own language. So,
and I think that we have continued to evolve this process for a little over 3 years, and I don't think we're wedded to it. I think it's part of it, we've been doing it just because we've said, okay, what we were doing was not working. So let's look outside and see what other people are doing and see if we can find a way of doing it better. Let's look at the law and make sure we are complying with the law, the Brown Act being the important one, and working our way through it. But we are still building the plane as we're flying it in this. And it's tough because the way the Brown Act is, when you have two board members at a policy committee meeting, when you bring additional board members in, you exceed the Brown Act number. So you could, by law, can come, but you have to stand in the back like Becky is and just listen. And you're not allowed to say anything or engage in any manner, because once you do, you violate the Brown Act, because then a majority of the board has had a discussion on an item. So we've got to be real cautious. There is one other option that we could take, and the law does allow us to create a committee of the whole, and the policy committee would be all 5 of us, and we could meet on a regular basis. It would be in lieu of doing a special meeting for policies, and you could say, okay, instead of having 2 members, we're going to have a committee of the whole. The committee of the whole is going to meet, and you notice it, and the key there is you're letting the public know that the policy committee is doing this and who's on the policy committee, so you're in compliance with the Brown Act. And then essentially, under the way the law is, that would work because it's a committee of the whole. It would essentially be a first reading, and then when it came to the board, it would be a second reading on consent. But then everybody has to do more work. So we could do that. That's another way of dealing with it.
Well, I'm sure we would all like more work.
Oh, yeah, because your pay, you get that hourly pay all the way down to quarter an hour.
Well, also more hands make less work.
Not when you're arguing and everyone gets to talk. Bye, ladies. Thank you for being here. We always let the student board members go so they can get to their homework or anything else. So obviously, as I said, we don't have to make any decisions tonight because we're not voting on anything. We really just want to make sure everyone was comfortable with what we're doing, what we're not doing, why we're doing what we're doing, sort of give the context. I encourage you all to think about it, ask. Process questions can come to me, substantive on the issue to staff, because since we're already on the policy committee, we can't really have too many discussions about policies. And then if we need to have another board meeting to talk and take action, we can do that. If you have suggestions, we can try implementing them and move forward.
Who's on the policy committee right now? You two, but then who's that committee? All of the cabinet?
Well, we're the committee, and then the cabinet staffs the committee. So it depends. If it's business services, Joe takes the lead. If it's HR, Brad takes the lead. You know, each one takes a section.
Yeah, the only voting is the 2 board members.
Okay. You guys do a lot of work. The more I find out, I'm like, I'm tired for you. I just don't know.
But we're going to continue to evolve our processes as well. Hopefully, get more efficient. Like Marla said, the laser-like focus just on what the law says and states, and hopefully we can whittle it down to that. And might be messy on some policies and really easy on others, but I think we're going to continue to work through that and refine that process for ourselves, and then what we present and put in front of the board to make it easier for you as well. So
I think there's 2 things that are really important for us, that we stay in compliance with law so we don't put the district at risk, and that when we have really big changes or policies that are new, that we engage the public and have a discussion so everybody knows what we're doing. And when I say the public, I mean everybody but us will know what we're doing. So our teachers know, our administrators know, our RSCA, CSEA knows, our parents know, our students know. Anyone who wants to engage in it has an opportunity to come and be heard, and then we can take our action on the big issues.
Do we have to have a board policy for that?
We do. It's board policy on board policies, 9310. So it was kind of funny when we discovered we had a board policy on board policies, because we didn't read it, so we didn't know, or at least I didn't. So John and I are also always talking, saying, do we have a policy on that? Let's check before we go any further.
This sounds, because I don't know, but I would just say, and I think Marla was alluding to this, keep everything as simple as possible. I mean, I was looking at all the policies thinking, what can we eliminate here? I mean, could we take anything out? And maybe you've looked at that, but I would just say in general, I like what Marla was saying, just focus on what we legally have to do or we really want to do, but let's just keep it simple or else it's just too convoluted to try to.
And we have not done that yet.
Okay.
So what we did first was do an audit to see what was out of date and needed to be addressed, and we brought everything up to date. Now we've tried to stay up to changes, but we haven't gone through and said, okay, let's look at these and see, do we need to have them?
Can we give board direction to have everybody go through their section of the?
Turn your mic on.
Can we give board direction so that everybody could go through their section of board policies or as they come about it? And here's one we don't need. Here's one I recommend that we don't need. Here's one.
Well, yeah, I think
Can
that.
you do that now? Okay.
Yeah, and
What's
I think
happening?
we just have to be careful we don't say do this by a certain time because of bandwidth issues. But I think it's a process that we've been doing, or they've been doing, we haven't been doing. It might be helpful at some point that we as a board decide, say, okay, let's take a look at these. But keep in mind, there's a lot of them.
That'll be fun.
Yeah, maybe you guys can work on it next year. Sorry. Anything else before we move on? We still have to we got a couple quick items on here, then we have to go closed session for about 3 hours.
No, I just appreciate the discussion.
Yeah.
You know, it came up in January, and now we're finally just getting to have a conversation about it, so.
All right, moving on. Staff comments. Do you really want to add any time to our meeting? I mean, do you have anything that you would like to say? You can say something. We know. All right. Pending agenda items. Just briefly, I know we mention this every meeting, but under our Horizon report, we have pending agenda items. We have a lot on here going all the way through the end of the year. This is your reminder that if you see something and you'd like us to do it at a different time, make sure you contact the superintendent. A lot of these are tied to external things that require we do it at the time. If there are items that you want on the agenda that you haven't had an opportunity to talk to the superintendent about adding on a future agenda, this is a good time for us. We can, at any board meeting, the reason we have this agendized is that we can talk about it and we can give direction to bring something on it. So I want to make sure everybody knows that we have the ability to do that at every meeting. And if nobody has any other comments, I'd like a motion. Oh, no, we're not going to adjourn. We're just going to go to closed session. So you guys can all go home. Thank you all for being here. Congratulations, Isabella, Mark. I'd rather do it in your office. Yeah. 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 Yeah, we're going to take everything because they're going to disassemble the room. Yeah. No. Hey, no problem.